All right, let's move on to the situation that we saw over the weekend, the protests in both New South Wales and Victoria. Gladys Berejiklian called it disgusting. Daniel Andrews called it selfish. What do you think?
I think people are venting their anger at being locked up and you got it in their homes. This whole lockdown issue is just ridiculous, and especially when it's not right across the whole state. You've got businesses that are going under, people that are mental illnesses that are happening. We don't report that. How many more cases of attempted suicide are we having? How many more people are actually being put under the pressure and losing their homes and businesses because they can't pay the rents? How many kids do we have that are in distress because they can't attend school? It's ridiculous to lock down the state purely for the fact that people haven't had the vaccination. Even if they have had the vaccination, which they're forcing everyone to actually have, then why aren't they not out of lockdown? That's the ridiculous part about it. You can have the vaccination, you can still get the COVID, you can still pass it on. So why keep penalising people the way that they are?
To keep people out of hospital, though, when you have had the vaccination, and given that New South Wales recorded a death in a woman aged in her 30s, surely then the vaccine does have some benefits in diminishing the rate of hospitalisation.
And there has been people who have had the vaccination and died because of having the vaccination as well. So let people make up their own minds, their own choices. You can't keep the country in lockdown. Is the premiers and the federal government putting pressure on the people to keep the lockdowns going so that you're going to force them to have the vaccinations? That's a question that I do ask. Having COVID is not necessarily a death sentence either. That is ridiculous to think that. The strains are changing all the time. How many vaccinations do you have to keep up with the different variants of this strain? The Delta variant is contagious, I've got to say that, what I'm hearing, but it is less deadly.
All right, well, let's talk about these protests, because you're a former small business owner yourself. How do you think that thousands of employers who watched the protest over the weekend would be feeling, and potentially thinking that this could set the state back, given we don't know if there were any infectious people who attended that rally, and we might not know for another fortnight?
Well, what did they do about the Black Lives Matter protest rallies that went on then? I didn't see the premiers going hard at it. What about opening up the sporting venues to thousands of people to attend the sporting venues? They don't shut them down. They still allow the state of origin to go ahead. So on one hand, I find the government and the premiers hypocritical. You have to understand that people have had a gutful of it. They're sick and tired of being locked away, having to wear masks, the ridiculous state of the whole thing. You can't go to pub, you can't have a beer unless you're actually sitting down. How ridiculous is that? You mean to say sitting down, you're not going to catch the COVID if you compared to standing up? So it's just ridiculous in what they've done to the people.
You don't agree, though,
and they've had a gutful of it.
We're dealing with a different strain here, that the Delta strain hasn't been like the previous strain?
And it's changing all the time. The variants are changing all the time. So you're dealing with the Delta now. What's the next one that's actually going to come out? You have to actually start listening to the people. Premiers aren't. Who runs the country? The chief health officers or the premiers? Because I think Scott Morrison's missing in this whole agenda. He's handed it over to state premiers, and what have they done? They just shut the borders at a drop of a hat. You know, everything's up in the air. Even Parliament next week, a lot of the members are told don't turn up or do it remotely and don't take your staff with you. So the country is in one hell of a mess if it keeps going the way that it's going. And the people are starting to say, we've had a gutful. That's why the protest rallies. So start listening to the people and understanding what the hell they're going through, because politicians aren't going through it like the people are, and the businesses.
Senator Pauline Hanson, we have to leave it there. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.